What's up, people? It's another Friday, so that means another anime slash manga series review. This review is going to be on the series called Slam Dunk. Now, Slam Dunk is a series, I believe, that came out in the early 90s in Japan. It sold, as of 2012, it had sold 120 million copies of this manga alone, just in Japan. So it is one of the highest selling mangas in manga history, which is pretty crazy since it is a sports anime or sports manga slash anime. But I guess at that time it came out in the early 90s. Basketball was getting really big in Japan, so that makes sense. So the setting of this story starts off with Hanamichi, who is the main character, or Sakuragi as he goes by. He is just going into high school, and he and his friends make fun of him because he's always getting turned down by girls. You can also, there's a resemblance between him and Yusuke Urameshi from Yu Yu Hakusho, because he's wearing the school outfit. It's like green, and Yusuke, you saw at the very beginning of his series, is wearing a green outfit of his school. So very similar. You can catch that right off the bat. But he goes to high school, and this girl comes up and talks to him. Her last name's Akagi. I can't remember her first name off the top of my head. But she convinces him to do try playing basketball, because obviously he has a crush on her. And so he's like, I'll pretty much do anything just to get her attention. And turns out he's extremely athletic, can jump extremely high, and she tells her brother, which her brother is the head of the high school basketball team, about this guy, and he gets challenged to play basketball. Pretty much, they do this challenge. Akagi says, "Hey, if you can score one basket on me, then whatever, you can join the basketball team, or whatever, you have my respect," or blah blah blah. Anyways, he goes and he actually wins the challenge. Of course, Hanamichi has never played basketball, so he didn't know you had to dribble the ball at first. Didn't know any of the rules, but he eventually scores the basket. So he ends up joining the basketball team. There you meet Rukawa, Sade Rukawa, I believe is how you pronounce it. And he is just some all-star basketball player, and Hanamichi gets jealous, and he becomes his rival. Rukawa doesn't really see him as a rival until later in the series, toward the end. But once Hanamichi gets his basketball skills up, they become rivals. And then later on, you meet Miyagi, who is the point guard of the team, but he just got out of the hospital because he had gotten in a fight with a guy named Mitsui. Now, Mitsui is also a former basketball player who was a high school MVP, but he quit playing basketball for some reason and became some high school thug. And eventually he comes back and rejoins the team after they get in this huge fight, the team and all this stuff. And they have to hide it so they don't get in trouble. But those are your starting five: Rukawa, Akagi, Mitsui, Miyagi, and Hanamichi. Starting five. Now, Miyagi is your point guard. Akagi is your center. Hanamichi is your rebound king, aka power forward. And then you have Rukawa, who is your strong forward. And then you have Mitsui, who is your shooting guard. And they eventually go on to be really good. They make it to the nationals, and they end up beating, spoiler, they end up beating like the nation's best team. But in order to do that, they end up just draining themselves, because that's their first game in the tournament, and then they lose their next game, so they don't even win the tournament. But the team they beat is like the tournament's winner for like the past 5 years. So, and that's pretty much how the series ends. It's an awesome series. It gets you out of your seat almost every time you sit down and read a segment of it that's a basketball game. you just constantly wanting to flip through the pages to get to like the conclusion because it's so exciting. I would definitely recommend this series for anybody who is starting out in anime and manga, who has already been introduced to anime and manga and just wants something else to fill their time. The only problems I have now, these can be some big problems, but I got over them, so I figure you guys can get over them. The anime only covers up until the tournament. It cuts off before the tournament starts, which sucks, but that's an easy fix. You can just go into the manga and read the rest of it. Another problem with it, that's a pretty big problem to me, is Akagi is a black guy, and they call him Gorilla in the manga. Now I can understand maybe, because maybe in Japan that's not considered a racist term, but in the United States it is. So I feel like that the translators over at Toei Animation, I believe it was Toei Animation that this came out on. Yeah, it is. Over at Toei Animation could have easily changed this translation to where when you're reading it, you don't read gorilla. It could have been something else. And it's also the same in the manga. The manga could have been translated to something different too. But I don't know why they would do that, why they wouldn't change that. But if you could just see over that, then it's fine, because eventually Hanamichi ends up calling himself an ape, because at a certain point he compares himself to Akagi, and it's in a good way, because Akagi is known as this big force in the basketball high school world in that area. So he starts calling himself that because he believes that he has become as good as Akagi, if not better, and surpassed him. It's kind of a show of respect, but it's still kind of iffy, so they definitely should have fixed that. But I still believe that this is a great series if you can just ignore those things. Out of 10, I give this a 9.25 out of 10. Very good. You'll enjoy it. You sit down and watch it. It has a very good background of all the characters. Even some of the enemies that you meet, not the enemies, but the opponents that you meet, get a thorough background on them and how they grew up and how they became interested in basketball and how they made it onto the varsity basketball team. All that good stuff. So, very good series. I suggest you go check it out. You can easily go suggest it out, or go test it out and see if you like it over at Northwest Anime or NW Anime, or go to Manga Here and read it, mangahere.com. And that's all I got for this series. Make sure to come back next Friday and you'll have another series posted up. I don't know which one it's going to be because I'm always in and out, but it'll definitely be there. You can go to hashtag nerdswag.com and check out our website where I have a whole written review for the series and other series. And also I'll have other anime news there. You can also go to our Facebook page, hashtag nerdswag, or Facebook /hashtag nerdswag, where you'll get all the updated information. You'll have other write-ups from other people on the website that do comics and tech and movies. But yeah, just go to the website, look at the written review, and go watch the series. I highly recommend it. And until next time, you guys, peace.